Hello, everyone. For today's lesson, I want you to start by reviewing the information you learned yesterday. So I want you to look at your notes from yesterday and recall what is anatomy, what is gross anatomy, what is microscopic anatomy, what is physiology, how are anatomy and physiology connected, and what are the 6 levels of structural organization. So take some time to review your notes from yesterday so that you can refresh the information. For today, we're going to be going over the different body systems that make up the human body, and it's just a brief overview, but we will be covering every single body system that you'll be learning about this year. The first one we're going to cover is the integumentary system. So the integumentary system forms the external body covering, the skin, and includes hair and fingernails. The integumentary system is the largest organ system in the body. The purpose of it is to waterproof the body. It helps cushion and protect deeper tissue from injury. It produces vitamin D with the help of sunlight. It excretes salts and perspiration. It helps regulate your body temperature, and it also is the location of cutaneous nerve receptors. So the anatomical structure is the skin, hair, and fingernails, and the physiological function is it waterproofs the body, protects and cushions deeper tissue from injury, produces vitamin D, excretes salts, regulates body temperature, and helps with nerve transmission. Here's an image of the integumentary system. So it mainly consists of your hair, skin, and fingernails. So for the skeletal system, the anatomical structures are the bones, cartilage, ligaments, and joints. The physiological functions are it provides muscle attachment for movement, protects your vital organs, it's the site of blood cell formation, and it helps store minerals in your body. So here's an image of the skeletal system. The main structures are the cartilages, joint, and bones, and the main functions are providing a framework for the muscles to use for movement, protect and support the body organs, and to help store minerals. The muscular system is next. The skeletal muscles contract or shorten to help produce movement. So the main structural components are the muscles, the skeletal muscles, and the main physiological function is producing movement by pulling on the bones. So here's an image of the muscular system. So the main anatomical structure are the skeletal muscles, and the main physiological function is allowing manipulation of the environment, locomotion, and facial expression, maintaining your posture, and producing heat. So before we move on, I want you to think about what we just talked about over the last few slides. So what were the main anatomical structures of the integumentary system? What are the primary physiological functions of the integumentary system? What are the main anatomical structures of the skeletal system? What are the primary physiological functions of the skeletal system? Then what are the main anatomical structures of the muscular system? And what are the primary physiological functions of the muscular system? So go ahead and pause the recording now to review that information. And then once you're ready, press play and continue with the presentation. Now we're going to move on to the nervous system. This is the fast-acting control system of the body. The anatomical structures are the brain, spinal cord, nerves, and sensory receptors in the body. The main physiological functions are responding to internal and external stimuli, detecting changes in the environment, and the nerves are responsible for sending messages to the central nervous system. And the central nervous system assesses the information and activates the effectors in the muscles and glands to produce a response to the stimuli. So the Main anatomical structures are the brain, the sensory receptors, the spinal cord, and the nerves. And the main physiological functions are responding to internal and external changes by activating appropriate muscles and glands. Next is the endocrine system. This secretes chemical molecules called hormones into the blood. That's one of the functions. It also controls your body's growth, reproduction, and use of nutrients through hormones. That's another function of the endocrine system. And the main anatomical structures in the endocrine system are the pituitary gland, the thyroid and parathyroid glands, the adrenal glands, the thymus gland, your pancreas, your pineal gland, and your ovaries and testes. When we cover the endocrine system, we'll go over exactly which hormones each of these organs produces, so that way you have a deeper understanding of the endocrine system. So the main anatomical structures are the pineal gland, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, and parathyroid glands, the thymus gland, the adrenal glands, which sit on top of your kidneys, the pancreas, the testes in the male, and the ovaries in the females. And then the main physiological functions are these glands secrete hormones that regulate processes such as growth, reproduction, and nutrient use by body cells. So before we move on, I want you to think about the organ systems we just covered. Take some time to think about the main anatomical structures for the nervous system and the main physiological functions of the nervous system. And then also review the main anatomical structures of the endocrine system and the primary physiological functions of the endocrine system. Pause the recording while you refresh yourself on this information. And once you're ready, press play to move on with the lecture. The next organ system we're going to cover is the cardiovascular system. So this includes your heart and blood vessels, and your heart pumps the blood. I know all of you already know that, and the vessels transport blood to your tissues. In your blood, then it transports oxygen and carbon dioxide. So oxygen is brought into your body through the lungs, and then your blood transports oxygen to all the cells in the body. And then carbon dioxide is a waste product of cellular respiration. So your cells, when they are producing energy, produce carbon dioxide as a waste product, and that's taken back to the lungs and you exhale it. Your blood also transports nutrients and hormones, and your blood contains white blood cells and other chemicals that provide protection from foreign invaders. So the main anatomical structures of the cardiovascular system are the heart and blood vessels, and the main physiological functions are transporting blood, which carries oxygen, nutrients, hormones, carbon dioxide, waste, and other products. And then the function of the heart is to pump the blood. Next is your lymphatic system, which consists of your immune system. This includes your lymphatic vessels, your lymph nodes, and your lymphoid organs. It helps complement the cardiovascular system by returning leaked fluids back to the bloodstream. So when you have a sprained ankle and there is swelling in the ankle, those are lymphatic fluids that are swelling, and the lymphatic system helps bring those fluids back into the bloodstream. The lymph nodes and other lymphoid organs cleanse the blood, and then also the lymphatic system houses your white blood cells, which are involved in your immune system. So the main anatomical structures of the lymphatic system are the lymph nodes and the lymphatic vessels. And then the main physiological functions are it picks up fluid leaked from the blood vessels and returns it to the blood. It disposes of debris in the lymphatic stream, and it houses white blood cells evolved in immunity. So let's review the information from the last few slides again. I want you to think about the main anatomical structures for the cardiovascular system and the primary physiological functions of the cardiovascular system. And then I want you to review the main anatomical structures of the lymphatic system and the primary physiological functions of the lymphatic system. Go ahead and pause the recording while you review this information, and then press play when you're ready to move on. The next organ system is the respiratory system. The main anatomical structures are the nasal passages, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, and lungs. And then the physiological function is gas exchange. So gases are exchanged with the blood through air sacs in the lungs, and this helps supply the body with oxygen, and it helps remove carbon dioxide from the body. So the main anatomical structures are the nasal cavity, the pharynx, the larynx, the trachea, the bronchi, and the lungs. And then the main physiological functions are keeping the blood constantly supplied with oxygen and removing carbon dioxide from the blood, and gases exchange between the walls of the air sacs of the lungs. Next up is the digestive system. This includes the oral cavity, the esophagus, the stomach, the small and large intestines, the rectum, and the accessory organs. It helps break down food, it allows for nutrient absorption into the blood, and it eliminates indigestible material as feces. So the main anatomical structures are the oral cavity, the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, the large intestine, and the rectum. And the main physiological functions are breaking food down into absorbable nutrients that enter the blood for distribution to body cells, and eliminating indigestible foodstuffs as feces. So again, let's review the information that we just covered. What are the main anatomical structures of the respiratory system and the primary physiological functions of the respiratory system? And what are the main anatomical structures and the primary physiological functions of the digestive system? Go ahead and pause the recording while you refresh yourself on this information and press play when you're ready to move on. Next is the urinary system. This includes the kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra. It eliminates nitrogenous waste, maintains acid-base balance in the body, regulates water and electrolyte balance, and helps regulate normal blood pressure. The main structures are the kidneys, the ureters, the urinary bladder, and the urethra. And the main functions are eliminating nitrogen-containing waste from the body, regulating water, electrolyte, and acid-base balance of the blood. So those are the main functions of the urinary system. And finally, we're on the last organ system we're going to cover today, the reproductive system. So for males, the main structures are the testes, the scrotum, the penis, the accessory glands, and the duct system. And the main functions are the testes produce sperm, and the duct system carries sperm to the exterior. For females, the main structures include the ovaries, the uterine tubes, the uterus, and the vagina. The main functions are the ovaries produce eggs, and the uterus provides a site of development for the fetus. So the main anatomical structures for the male are the prostate glands, seminal vesicles, the penis, the testes, and the scrotum. And the main anatomical structures in the female are the mammary glands, the uterine tube, the ovary, the uterus, and the vagina. The main function of the reproductive system is the production of offspring. So in the men, the testes produce sperm and the male sex hormone, and the ducts and glands aid in delivery of viable sperm to the female reproductive tract. In the woman, the ovaries produce eggs and female sex hormones such as estrogen, and the remaining structures serve as sites for fertilization and development of the fetus. And once the baby is born, the mammary glands of the female breast produce milk to help nourish the newborn. The last review session for today, think about what are the main anatomical structures of the urinary system and the primary physiological functions of the urinary system. And then what are the main anatomical structures of the reproductive system and the primary physiological functions of the reproductive system. Take some time to review this information. You can pause the video while you review this information and then press play once you're ready to move on. So today we covered all of the organ systems in the body. Throughout the year, you're going to learn in much greater detail about each of these organ systems. And tomorrow we're going to talk about what are the requirements for life.